Unfortunately, our Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Robert Z. Carr Jr. could not be here. However, we are pleased to have Ms. Sheena Meadows, Assistant to Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. We have a great luncheon speaker, Dr. Mimi Parker. I believe Dr. Parker spoke at the Rural Life Conference before, and we are pleased and honored to host you again, Dr. Parker. The program will follow as printed in the book. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Dr. Pamela Moore, Associate Dean for Global Engagement, to give meditation. Dr. Moore.
Meditations and reflections of a grateful and humble heart. A grateful heart is the beginning of greatness. It is an expression of humility. It is the foundation for such virtues as prayer, faith, courage, contentment, happiness, love, and well-being. We are grateful today for many things. We're grateful for the food that will nourish our physical beings, but also for the intellectual food and fellowship that nourishes minds, hearts, souls, helping us to do our part to live in this world with kind words and loving deeds. We're grateful for food in a world where too many walk in hunger, for faith in a world where many walk in fear, for friends in a world where many walk alone. We are humbled and grateful for so many undeserved blessings. For the earth, the sun, rain, we pause to be grateful. For the harvest that gives us our daily bread, for the smallest seeds which can grow to feed us. We wonder at these miracles and give thanks for all these gifts. For all of you gathered here today in friendship, fellowship, professional collaboration, may we continue to live in friendship and in harmony with one another. For the blessings of our individual and collective God-given gifts. For the hearts that desire to make a difference in families, farms, communities, our country, and the world. For the many cultures and peoples represented among us. For balance in times of distraction and uncertainty. Let us bow our heads in grateful silence, appreciative of those who worked so diligently to make today the special occasion that it is. Let us prayerfully reflect upon the blessing of this food we are about to share, humbled by the hands of those who prepared it from field to kitchen to table. For all of this, we are grateful and give thanks. May we be strong in virtue, firm in time of trouble, and always ready to help others in times of need. Amen.
Next, I'd like to ask Ms. Maya Ware, who's a nursing major, a sophomore, to come sing a song for us.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. It's not a cry that you hear at night, it's not someone who's seen the light, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Next, I invite Ms. Sheena Meadows, Assistant to the Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, to introduce the speaker.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Dr. Monaharan and to Dr. Lockman, along with the Planning Committee, for inviting me in place of Dr. Carr, who I know you requested, but he was unable to come. But I tell you what, we didn't get him, but I'll try not to be as long-winded as perhaps he may have been had he been here. And so, and I think our student already left, but I also wanted to just recognize her again. I don't think she's in the room for her song. So, as Dr. Monaharan said, I'm Sheena Meadows, and I'm Assistant to the Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and also Director of the Carolyn S. Blakely Honors Program. And Dr. Parker has given me permission to provide you with an abbreviated introduction, although I do want to bring your attention to her full biography that's printed in your program. Dr. Mamie Parker serves as president of Ma Parker and Associates and is an executive coach, ecologist, transformational speaker, author, and facilitator in the Washington, D.C. area. Dr. Parker's life's work was shaped by both her mother, who was a maid and a sharecropper, and the musical sound of Motown legend Marvin Gaye. And she had said she's going to let us know a little bit more about that when she comes forward. When Dr. Parker became the first to integrate her segregated elementary school in Wilmot, Arkansas, and the first African-American female chief of staff at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service during the Clinton administration, she remembered her inspirations along the way. Dr. Parker's work as a wildlife biologist and executive has afforded her opportunities to reside in and visit numerous places, including Wisconsin, Minnesota, Georgia, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, South Africa, and other places she may not have dreamed of visiting as a small child from Ashley County. She also may not have imagined being inducted into the Arkansas Outdoor Hall of Fame, an honor the governor of Arkansas bestowed upon her as the first Arkansan to serve as the head of fisheries in this country. She was also appointed by the governor of Virginia as Commissioner for the Virginia Game and Inland Fisheries, where she was recently elected Vice President. Dr. Parker was awarded the Presidential Rank Award, which recognized her service in building powerful partnerships on the farm field. She's worked with and been recognized by the American Pharmaceutical Association, Walmart Corporation, the Kellogg Foundation, former Secretary Madeleine Albright, the Council of World Women Leaders, and more. Dr. Parker's work has been featured nationwide on NPR's Morning Edition, The Steve Harvey Show, and in Dudley Edmonson's Black and Brown Faces in America's Wild Places. Dr. Parker is committed to mentoring minorities and women and people of color. She earned degrees in biology, fish and wildlife management, and limnology from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and the University of Wisconsin. She's a member of the American Fisheries Society, the Links Incorporated, the Rotary Club of Dunn-Loring, and one of my favorites, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She also serves on the board of directors for numerous organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our speaker, Dr. Mamie Parker.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon.
Wait a minute, you can do better than that. Yesterday, I was in Kansas, in Manhattan, Kansas, and I had to tell them that I'm a girl raised in the South, and where I come from in Arkansas, if I call, you will respond. Prove me right. Good afternoon. Thank you so very much. I think I'll stay a while. I would like to, first of all, I have been called many things, some of which I can repeat and others I can't, but the celebration queen is the one I'm most proud of. So as a celebration queen, help me in celebrating the wonderful planning committee and the great job that they've done so far in this conference. Thank you so much. I have really been impressed and certainly been inspired by being here. Madam Chair Lockman, I appreciate the honor and the invitation to the Dean himself. Your hospitality has been just outstanding. I appreciate that. And again, I wanted to congratulate Maurice Jackson, the Simon Haley lecturer this morning. Thank you and congratulations for doing a wonderful job. Thank you. As I started thinking about this speech, I started thinking about, again, coming home and what it meant to come back here. And this morning, I had the pleasure of hearing the Vesper Choir, and having served for 4 years in that choir, every time we had a chance to sing the alma mater, it just meant a lot to me, because in my mind, it was all about love when it talks about we love you, dear mother. And so today, I know that this is all about love, because there's a love here in this room that I've seen over the last few hours, and I know for a fact there are many things that you love. So raise your hand. We are scientists, so we gotta raise our hand. Raise your hands if you love families. Raise your hand. Look at the room. Raise your hand if you love farmers, because they feed us and they feed the world. Yes. Raise your hands if you love communities, particularly your community. So from this, I can tell that this room is full of love. And in knowing that, I want you to turn to your neighbor, because where I come from in Arkansas, we talk to our neighbors. Turn to them and say, I'm just a love machine. You can imagine, I had the privilege of doing the commencement speech at Duke University this past May. And it was amazing, because the dean came up to me later and he said, I told my faculty
family members a lot of things, but I've never told them I'm a love machine. Having spoke at the World Fisheries Conference in China, hearing them tell each other that they were a love machine was certainly something special. So I appreciate you all understanding that and sharing that with me. It is important to think about our love, and this conference title is all about families, it's all about farmers, and it's all about communities, which is why we're here. It is all because we are a part of those things. They're all a part of us. And I feel so special to come home to Arkansas, and I'm reminded of my beloved sorority sister when she said that we are a part of something bigger. And she said we are a piece of work. And that's amazing because growing up, my mother often said that, but it wasn't in the same tone and delivery, as you can imagine, as others, but we are a piece of work. And so today, as we come here and as we think about families, as we think about farmers, as we think about our communities, we realize that we're all a part of that. And I'm fortunate to be here today carrying on the Parker tradition. Dr. Sellers J. Parker, many of you know that name. But more importantly, I have family members, Parker Rollins family members, and over 76 of us, Parker Rollins, graduated here from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, A&M College. And we're grateful. In the audience, I have family members and friends that are here from Wilmot, Arkansas, in the Delta, down in the Delta. And they're here, and I just like for my family and friends that are out there to just wave your hand so people can see where you are. It's almost 2 tables full of them. They're everywhere. I'm grateful. There's one shining star there, and she was the one that brought me to this campus when I was 3rd grade. She was also the one that took me to my 1st grade class because my mother, Miss Piggy Parker, in southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana, had already had 5 boys and 5 girls. And by the time I came along, she said she was tired of taking the kids to school. So she asked this shining star in the audience to do that for me. I'd like for her to stand because she was my 4th grade teacher, as well as my sister, Mac Jewel Grant, is in the audience today. My 4th grade teacher. That's my sister. Thank you. Thank you. And she's been all over the country with me, and one of her favorite saying is that she went from the outhouse to the White House. As I integrated the Wilmot Elementary Public Schools, I can recall her saying that it's going to be all right. And that was so true, because I heard it again several days later from little Paula Spurlock. And she had the cutest little blonde ringlets. And I was sniffing at recess, and really I had a cold, but little Paula thought that I was crying. And she came up to me to make me feel included. And she said to me, in love, which is what this whole session is all about, she said it's going to be all right. And when it gets hard, she said, I chew gum. And she gave me a little piece of her gum. So I hope many of you out there in the audience will be a little Paula Spurlock when you can, to make people that don't always look like us, talk like us, or act like us feel important. Today, when we think about rural America, we celebrate many things related to it. 72% of the nation's land is in rural America. 46 million people are there, and they're moving back. It's rapidly growing, but it's chronically depressed. But today, I want to talk about 3 things that I think are important when we think about rural America and where we are. I want to think specifically about rural Arkansas. Passion, inspiration, and excellence. In my considered opinion, that's what it's going to take for us to continue to make our best better. And if you don't remember passion, inspiration, and excellence, just remember pie. Pass the pie. And when I think about that, I think about the communities and what we have and what we want. I dream of a rural Arkansas with healthy, whole families and children that provide the food, fisheries, gardens, urban farming, providing fiber and forest products, and recreational and agritourism. With passion, inspiration, and excellence, I know that we're facing difficult challenges, but the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, like they are in many programs, including fisheries, as I travel throughout the world, I have the privilege of them, after I speak, coming up and saying, I went to UAPB and studied fisheries, and I get chill bumps knowing that you're caring enough, as Hallmark card says, to send the very best. Leading the way with our aging population, our transportation issues, our telecommunications issues, healthcare, the drug crisis, housing, and job opportunities. But we can change all of that with the pie. I dream of a thriving rural communities that prosper in the 21st century, where the quality of life is just fantastic. Technological innovations on farms, including those fish farms, are just fantastic. Where we have the medical services that we need, where education in our communities are really, really thriving. Where we identify the gaps in academia at all levels of educational institutions, career training and development, making our best better, work, training, and retraining those that need it. And so, working together to strengthen our farmers, our families, and our communities, I'd like to just take you on a journey, and Madam Chair gave me the privilege to do so. She asked me to talk about my conservation journey and how I got to where I am. And I'll do that, not that I'm bragging or boasting, but simply because there are messages in each location that I got, and I'd like to share them with you. Are you ready to go with me? All right, let's go. So, my grandfather, Simon Parker, was a guide to hunters in southeast Arkansas. He had passion, inspiration, and excellence. My mother, Miss Piggy Parker, was an avid angler. And I recall her fishing and looking up to her fishing and going fishing with her. But it was on those banks of Bayou Bartholomew and Lake Enterprise that I remember most some of the life lessons that I got there. And many of them stuck with me. She said, leap and grow your wings on your way down. That stuck with me when we think about fear and how we can overcome it. She talked about action and how we needed to be action-oriented. But she didn't have the education to say it the way that Dr. Steve Covey says it when he says, begin with the end in mind. She said, baby, when all is said and done, sometimes more is said than done. She wanted me to believe that I was enough. And that was important to me to hear that. I think it's important for whole families to tell that to their children. Particularly for me, it was hard because my father lived on the other side of the track. He was not a part of our family. He had another family on the other side of the track. But over time, in her own words, my mother let me know that while I didn't have his name, my name does not determine our destination. And so, fishing with her was important and I learned a lot, but it was 9th grade when I met that science teacher. And he influenced me even more because he introduced me to Marvin Gaye's song, Mercy, Mercy Me. Things are not like they used to be. And he asked, what happened to those blue skies? He talked about radiation in our air, but what really got me when he said mercury in our fish. The fish that we ate. And in the voice of Arnold on Different Strokes,
I said, what you talking about, Willis? I just thought about it. The fish we ate had mercury in it. But he challenged us to do something about it. And so I went on to the University of Arkansas in Pine Bluff. And it was here that I had a choice and was trying to decide what to study. And I was in line, and the girl in front of me was studying political science, and I loved civics, and the person behind me was going to major in biology. And so I chose biology. More so because I had a crush on that biology teacher back there in high school. He was going to be my baby daddy. It was here at the University of Arkansas that I got into the biology program that was just outstanding. And thanks to many doctors, but Dr. Watley as well as Dr. Kane were two of my most supportive people. But one day a recruiter came to town from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And he told me about fish and wildlife, and he said, I know you like the outdoors and you like being outside and you can get paid to do that. Now he was like a sleazy used car salesperson, not like the ones that most of you buy your car from. He had attended the university, but he was also one that led me to believe the job was in Arkansas. And I was excited about that because I had in the back of my mind, I had gone on and left that biology teacher, and I was about to marry Jughead Stanley, the tractor driver from Wilmot. So I told him, I said, I don't think I can leave Arkansas. I found out the job was in Wisconsin. And so he called me up and he said, what is it about it you're afraid of? And I said, well, I'm just fear. Quite frankly, I'd never been north of Little Rock often. And I said, isn't it cold up there? So like a sleazy used car salesperson, not most of them. He called me back 3 days later and he said, we're going to do something special for you. We're going to throw in some free clothes. I found out there were uniforms and everybody got those free clothes. But it was also a time for me to remember my mother's words about how we need to overcome fear. And as we think about passion, as we think about inspiration, as we think about excellence, we have to overcome our fears. We have to face our fears. Fears, false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. The key to it is to face everything and rise. F-E-A-R, face everything and rise. So I headed off to Wisconsin. It was amazing because my first job on a national fish hatchery, they asked me to back up the distribution truck where the fish were going to be stocked in a stream, and actually in Lake Michigan. I took the entire garage door with me as I backed up. But there was a guy there. He happened to have been the person that had helped me the most while I had been working there. And he told them, leave her alone, because she's from Arkansas. Thank God that man took care of me. He had that passion. I worked there at the hatchery for a number of years, and then I came back, and I wanted to go south. My next job was in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Sometimes in life we have goals, we have passion, we have inspiration, we promote excellence. Green Bay was not where I thought I wanted to be. Sometimes you have to go up to get back down. I was in Green Bay and stayed there with all intentions of going south. My next job was in Madison, Wisconsin, 121 miles south of Green Bay. In life, sometimes we have goals, and we have big goals, and we have to take short, small steps. And it was here at the University of Wisconsin, I recall a professor, and he grabbed a paper that I had done, a research paper, and he said to me, where did you learn to write like that? And this was one of those moments where I thought, well, I'm just going to tell him exactly how I feel, and if he sends me home, that's just fine. So I said, Miss Betty Williams, at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. She was my English teacher, and he said she was an excellent teacher. I will never forget those moments.
right there in Wisconsin. I love working there. I had the opportunity to work not only stocking fish, but also move into some wildlife research on the bald eagle, the recovery of the bald eagle. Stayed in that position, but I wanted to go which way? South. My next job was in Columbia, Missouri. It was here that I had a chance in Missouri to work with farmers on many of the farm bills. CRP, WRP, ICFLIP, the Partners for Fish and Wildlife. And it was here that I remembered again my mother's words about listening and how important it is for us to listen. And if you think about the letters in listen, they're the same letters in silent. And as we talk about ways in our rural communities to promote excellence, we have to learn to listen. And it was those farmers in the Boot Heel of Missouri that taught me all about listening. They also made it clear to me they weren't accustomed to a woman telling them how to farm their land, how to grow wildlife on their land, how to work their lands. And so it was kind of difficult at first, but over time, it became a wonderful relationship, partly because we learned to listen. Their passion for their land inspired me. I happen to be on the board of directors for the Nature Conservancy, and the chair of that board said, preserve the core and stimulate process and progress. That's what we have to do when we talk about strengthening our communities, our farmers, and our families. That means keeping our traditions, our values, our approaches, and they certainly had those in the Boot Heel of Missouri, but it's also inspiring us to move forward to stimulate progress. And here I had to share with them that women could do that too. And now I can tell other people that we do have a place in conservation. But I use Cardi B's words that I have to revise because you can't say them publicly everywhere. But she says, I think us bad women are a gift from God. Women have come a long way in conservation, and men have helped us get there with passion, with inspiration, and excellence. It's all about helping others. My next job was in Minnesota. I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I had the privilege of working not only on the big rivers, but also on the Great Lakes. And it was working with many of the construction projects from the Corps of Engineers and other jobs that I had doing research on the river that I was inspired. But I'll be honest with you, I went to Minnesota because I, at the time, was in my late 20s. I had gone to school most of my life and worked the rest of it. And I went to Minneapolis looking for a husband in Minnesota, like Finding Waldo. So I was looking for a black man. I found Mr. Artist Holmes. He introduced me to Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin said, what good have I done this day? So we talk about passion, when we talk about inspiration, it's being inspired because we've done something to help someone else. Workforce in rural America will require us to help someone else, to get them to where they are, to promote them and what they're doing. That job was wonderful, and I was in a good place for about 7 years. But I wanted to go where? South. My next job was in Atlanta, Georgia. Hated it. Sometimes in life you think you know what you want and you get it, and it's not what you think. Not because Atlanta was a bad place, but I was in a bad place with my boss. And in life, that happens to us. But what I did was not learn how to react to it in a positive way. I played it out. I did what Dr. Covey talks about in the 4 cancers of life: criticizing, complaining, negatively, competing, and comparing. Criticizing, complaining, negatively competing, and comparing. That will eat you up. That will keep you from moving ahead. And what I learned in that position was that criticizing, most of the time I was talking to the wrong person. I was not talking to the person that could actually do something about it. I was not talking to the person that may have changed had I talked to him. I complained a lot, and as a scientist, I did some research on this. Complaining, guess what? 85% of the people we complain to, guess what? They don't care. The other 15% of the people we complain to, they're so happy whatever predicament we're in, they're not in. So we need to be careful about those. It was a wonderful job, and I got fortunate because my next job was the Chief of Staff in Washington, D.C., in the Office of the Director at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It was here that I saw a lot of egos, but I also learned a lot about letting go. And now one of my favorite movies is Frozen, and in that movie they say, let it go, let it go. It's not always easy for us to do that. And we think about the challenges that we have to feed a hungry world, to feed America, to feed Arkansas. When we think about promoting agriculture, when we think about we need innovation to do that and to increase the output across America's farmland, to increase crop yields and the quality of our crops and the food safety, and also the expansion of STEM education, research, and programs and fisheries, that we have to let it go sometimes when we've done all we can. The songwriter says, after you've done all you can, you just stand. It also says that we'll fall down, but we get up. We fall down, but we get up. For winners or losers that fall down, but get back up again and again and again. This is when I had to move to excellence. Passion, inspiration, and excellence. Working on myself. And that's not always hard for us to work on ourselves. But that's the best way we can make things happen. And so, it was in Washington, D.C., that I had to remember there were a lot of egos there, and we had to work through those, including my own. My next move was in Hatley, Massachusetts, in New England. Go Chargers! No, it was here that I learned a lot about whales. I learned about harbors. I learned about mountains, having to climb many of those in the New England area. Learned about many, many invasive species, non-native species that were in that area. It was a wonderful chance for me to promote excellence among the employees. Because in the 132 years, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service appointed the first woman to serve as the regional director of the 13 northeastern states. We stayed there for a number of years, came back to Washington, D.C. to head up fisheries in this country. And here is excellence when we talk about partnerships. And Maurice talked about partnerships this morning and how important they are. It was here that we did the National Fish Habitat Action Plan to make sure that partners were there doing great work. It was here also that I realized that I was working most of my life and it was not taking care of my home and my husband. So he came to me and he said, "You're married to your job." He encouraged me to keep that job, but he wanted a divorce. And here's my message in terms of excellence in relationships and partnerships. Learn how to take care of those priorities in your life, whatever they may be. Your dog, your cat, your fish, your spouse, your families. Go home and take care of them. I didn't do it soon enough. And so I'll be personal about it. He asked for a divorce. He left home for about 3 months. But during that time, we got some great counseling. And I heard from Dr. Bailey Jefferson earlier today, and I sat in on her session. And she talked about getting professional help if you need it. And it was here that I learned that it's hard to balance work and life, but you can certainly tell people you care. And so my husband came back, but it was 2 years later, after I had gotten things together, was working and doing good, had a wonderful time going to Africa and working there in Lesotho for a while, had a wonderful experience in Fish and Wildlife Service as the head of fisheries. He came back to me and he said, I'm leaving you again. And this time I was like Gloria Gaynor when she sang the song, go out the door, don't turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. But I was not listening. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This time, my husband was leaving because he was dying. At the age of 50, he had stomach cancer with about 3 months to live. And it was in his dying that I learned all about living. What was amazing about that time was 37 people, many of which in the conservation community, came to help me take care of him because he wanted every day to feel like Christmas during that time. And he told me that you're going to have some bad days and you're going to cry, but he reminded me that crying is like an inside shower cleansing you. It's okay. I learned to cry, but I didn't cry that ugly cry. I held my head high when I cried. But he also reminded me of many of the things again that my mother had taught me. One of which was the song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And he said, when you're down and out, made me sing that song. So I ask you as I close to help me sing that song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. I didn't get paid to come here, right, Doc, to tell him that. But I do ask you to repay me by helping me sing the song. That song again, let's start it. Row, row, row your boat. You don't sound good. Dr. Wayne Dyer was one of my favorite mentors, and in that song, he said there are a lot of meanings. When I learned it from my mother, it didn't have as many meanings. I was just singing along, but Dr. Dyer says, row, 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 don't stop. Row, 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 don't quit. Be persistent. Keep moving. As we strengthen our families, as we strengthen our farmers and our communities, we have to continue to do it and don't stop. And then he says, row, 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 what? Your boat, right? Look at your neighbors and tell them, row your boat. Row your boat. And notice I need to say, your boat. The problem many of us have is we're trying too hard to row somebody else's boat. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Row, row, row your boat. Compassion, inspiration, and excellence. Row, row, row your boat. And then it says gently. This is something I learned as a supervisor. When I had to supervise 2,400 people with a budget of $250 million, I realized that I didn't have to be Rambo to tell them what to do. I didn't have to be that way. This song says gently, as long as you're moving, because it says down the stream. And I love Madagascar, one of my other favorite movies, because it says, I like to move it, move it, move it. Will Rogers says it best. He said you can be on the right track, but if you're not moving, you can still get run over. Keep moving. Keep working hard in your communities to make things happen there. And then it says merrily. This is one of my favorite parts of this song because it's all about being happy, choosing happiness. My life has not always been the best, and I'm sure that my story is many of your stories out there. Students, as you work hard to try to finish those papers and those degrees, I know it's not always easy, but just keep moving. Gently down the stream. And then it says merrily, merrily. And then it says life is but a dream. And when it comes to dreaming, it's all about your dreams and embracing your dreams and not stopping the dreams of others. This has been one of the most challenging things for me, is to not let other people challenge my dreams and stop my dreams. I tend to want to do what's right, but sometimes it's hard. because I've seen people's words kill other people's dreams. Merrily, merrily, life is but a dream. And so, as I close and I talk to you about passion, as I talk to you about inspiration, and then excellence, I realize that we may not have everything that we want. We may not have all the resources that we need to do the many things that it would take to help making our best better. But we have to learn to live with what we have. When I served as regional director in the Northeast, it was 911, and I recall those days when we found out that one of our employees was on flight 93 that had crashed in Pennsylvania. And that was very hard. One of our biologists from a refuge was there. But then when I heard his story inspired me. Apparently, they were on the phone and telling people what they were going to do. A group of them said, you know what? We don't have all the resources we need to do what we need to do, but we need to stop this plane because they had heard the plane was about to hit the White House. And so they went around that plane and they found all kinds of things. They found knives that they had. They found spoons. They found whatever they could. And a group of them got together. And they went to the back of the room and they talked about their plans and what they were going to do. And at the end they said, let's roll. And they went and they did take that plane down. They sacrificed their lives, but they helped others. And that's when I saw passion. I saw them inspiring each other, and I saw excellence when they said, let's roll. And so I think about that as I think about growing up and having that mother to give me all those kind words of wisdom in her own words. And I think about her saying, let's roll, let's keep moving, let's keep going and growing. And then I'm reminded of a poem that says it better. And that poem says, each day I live to be a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone. Our finest day is yet unknown. That became a song. It was on my mother's dying bed. She died when I was fairly young. And she encouraged me to keep going and growing through excellence. And I encourage you all to do the same by asking you to stand, and we'll say that poem together, and we will be able to, I'll be sitting down. If you stand up, I get to sit down. Okay, repeat after me. Each day I live to be a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone. Our finest day, our finest day is yet unknown. Now tell your neighbor, let's roll. Thank you very much.
Dr. Parker, on behalf of the Rural Conference Planning Committee and the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences, I'd like to give a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parker. It was a really inspiring speech, and we hope to dream, and we dream that you will be all present in the next year, and we would like to serve you better. On that regard, we request you to fill up kindly the evaluation form, and this is in the both sides. There are feedbacks which you can provide that one. If somebody does not have this form, please raise your hand, and it will be provided to you. So we want to serve you better. We want to host you in next year also to be having that one. And our heartiest congratulations as well as thanks for your participation throughout the day. I would like to thank this Dean Dr. Manoharan and the planning committee and this Chancellor Lawrence Alexander and the UAPB team to be there, to be having that one. everybody tirelessly worked throughout the whole year, and because of that, today it's a success to be having that. And we would like to recognize those who have exhibited their products, who have presented the poster, who have spoken that one, and those workshops there. Those participating from these USDA agencies as well as those other organizations, and we thank you all. And we hope that next year your participation will be also this vibrant, if not better than this year.